Hey guys, Rob and Ingrid here, and unlike the other ones, we're together for this era, as we're going to be going over my favorite era, the 80s and 90s Heisei era. The
Woo!
first reboot. The only thing that's canon is the first movie, which means that Godzilla is also dead, but another one shows up. And when we get down the line, I'll explain to you a bit more. By the time we get to King Ghidorah, in a way, it kind of retroactively provides an explanation to its own reboot.
Ooh, that sounds really interesting.
But this first one, The Return of Godzilla, we're going to be seeing the New World Cinema version where they brought back Mr. Martin from the first one,
Ooh.
played by Raymond Burr still. And
Awesome.
And if it wasn't for him, this movie would have been a farce. They were probably making it a big joke.
Oh, man.
But he said, and he told them when they were shooting, when back in 1954, when we did the original, we took the allegories literally. I will do no different. And they kept on trying to talk him to do it because they had a very big Dr. Pepper sponsorship that you'll see. The only compromise they could do was have him and the others walking down the hallway with a big machine so blatantly in the background. And even that, it's questionable whether or not he agreed to that or not. But yeah, basically, new Godzilla's shown up. It's been decades later, so a bigger gap than Raids again had, and people are trying to adjust to it. No, very few acknowledge the original movie, and in this, unfortunately, I have to say the editing of this, it was the Cold War, and you'll see it, you'll know it when we get to it.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, and then now Godzilla, he's not going to be as tall as you're used to. This is what to take the notion of Godzilla against modern skyscrapers. Perfectly fine, but compared to the later versions we'll see of him, oh, he's tiny here.
Oh, boy.
You'll see what I mean when we get to it. But, yep, let's start this era off with a bang. We'll see you guys on the other side.
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu takes on his multi-armed form. He says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hey guys, we just got done, and what did you think?
Well, that's a great way to start off a new era.
Yep, and wow, it is a great starting point. It feels like, and people like to dump on we just saw the American edit. People like to dump on it. There's coining it. There's that one soldier guy I cannot stand.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
That's some urban renewal program Japan is going on.
Like, what?
That's the only remain from the campy script.
Mm-hmm.
And the look on Raymond Burr's face, just like, and in fact they kept that in there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was a return to form for Godzilla.
Uh-huh.
This felt like he was a force of nature again. Not as much as he was in the first. I will admit that. This is bad as he gets, and there's some moments where it's bad. It's not as foreboding.
Yeah, it's just like you sort of understand a little bit more of exactly what he's after.
Exactly. And there's some moments where he comes off a little dumb.
Mm.
This is the one where I feel almost like, oh, Godzilla has a small brain, like it was in King Kong vs. Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
This, I see what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
with this one. This Godzilla is more animalistic, instinctual.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, nuclear stuff. I'm gonna go eat it.
I'm hungry.
I'm not.
Ooh, birds. Ooh. That's what he was like when he saw the birds. It was like, birds. Siblings, because birds are considered the only remains of dinosaurs. And now, for this American edit, Raymond Burr, compare him to the first one. How would you say? Would you say he was still more effective there than here? Would you say, I'm talking about as far as his acting performance.
I'd still say his acting was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Especially that speech he delivered at the end.
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
shit.
Boy, that gave us half a point right there.
Yeah, it's just like that was a half a point added to our rating all by itself.
Unfortunately, he does feel tacked on. But the fact they went out of their way to get him saved this movie.
It really did, behind the scenes and in the actual script.
Exactly. Everything. A lot of stuff he says is generic. Let's be honest. But he makes it work. He sells it. And some of the other military guys they have there were not, except for the one guy, were pretty believable.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Gamera.
Yeah, or it's just like they were still trying to figure out exactly what the monster was doing and exactly how to combat it.
A little corny, but not too corny. Unfortunately, they do drop the whole, we should be united against a common enemy to go, Soviets bad, America good. But it wasn't as egregious as it could have been.
Yeah, it's just like, it's a product of its time. You're going to have little bits like that don't necessarily age as gracefully.
Oh, speaking of aging gracefully, the close-up shots.
Close-ups.
Okay, from the distance, he looks menacing.
Oh yeah, back to form menacing, if a bit smaller than usual.
Yeah, which you won't see, but the close-ups, it's like a Showa suit. Like and that weird face he got once he got back up and he looked at the Super X,
yeah.
Then that was the only wide shot that was bad, but the close-ups were just like, it's because his eyes were too.
Yeah, if they had made his eyes like a little bit more slitted, maybe added in a little bit of red or black there, that would have been given.
Yeah, like what they had for the wide shots.
Oh yeah.
Because those ones he's like. But here again he's like.
Yeah.
Just way too wide, a googly eye like he was in the old days.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. Now, the other thing that bothers me most about this, they do mention sometimes that, it's been 30 years since we last saw Godzilla, but that feels like lip service, the way they act. They act too nonchalant. I mean, I wouldn't say total nonchalant, like the people panicking is real. I'm talking about how quick they are to accept it.
Yeah, it's just like, you'd think there would be a little bit more skepticism and a little bit more research into everything, like we saw with the start of the Heisei movies.
Exactly, people were not sure. Now, granted, that's because they don't have the original to fall back on. But here, you would at least think Godzilla's dead. He died.
Or they might plausibly think, hey, I think that saying Godzilla's back is a BS excuse in order to justify or throw heat off of them doing a nuclear bad.
Exactly. But instead, but once we saw the sea louse, for that one shot, it was effective in the American cut.
Oh yeah.
Now in the Japanese cut, it's laughable.
But yeah, here it's just like
they cut it short.
Yeah, it's just like my skin just crawled.
Especially when you see that. Because the birds are like, what the heck did this? Because Godzilla's not a bloodsucker. Then you find out, then you realize, what would get on Godzilla while he traveled and be able to be mutated without needing radiation? Something that would suck his blood, like sea lice. Now, granted, they don't go anywhere else with it afterwards, but it was a nice little, what else would be affected? It's the closest thing we got to Godzilla radiation making Tokyo uninhabitable from the original. And like I say, the scientists, they were not bad. They weren't that memorable.
But they made a lot of sense for the most part.
And the union of you have the scientists, the guy and the love interest and all stuff. You had a bit of a Serizawa and the other two, vibe. Speaking of, the point when you have Mr. Martin say, and just so you know, back then they found no body. I think that was they're trying to imply this was the same creature when we know it wasn't. But again, just some of the stuff here, it's not perfect. I will not call it perfect.
But it's good.
Oh, it is good. It is as good as it had any right to be to bring back Godzilla. Just wish Ishiro Hondo was, had worked on it.
But yeah, with how that man had his own creative aspirations kind of dragged through the mud, I can understand it.
Yep. Now the next one we'll be going over the one and only original monster. That's not a bringing back an old one or a spinoff. At least until the final movie, and that will be Godzilla vs. Biollante. We'll see you guys there.